Welcome to our continuing YouTube video series on employment law. My name is Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal, and in this particular YouTube video we will be discussing the aspect of severance pay. So to understand severance pay, we first must distinguish it from termination pay in lieu of notice. So termination pay in lieu of notice is the base payment that is required in a particular jurisdiction when an individual is terminated, typically without cause, from their job by the employer, payable to the employee based on a specific methodology that is set out in the governing legislation, the governing statute. And this represents the base. It's required in the circumstances where termination pay or termination notice is required to the employee, and is something that cannot be avoided by the employer. Severance pay is an additional payment that is above the termination pay. But what can this severance payment constitute? Well, in some jurisdictions, that means certain provinces or states, there might be some applicable legislation that discusses minimum requirements for severance pay. So in the province of Ontario, there is a minimum requirement of severance pay where the employer pays wages of at least $2.5 million in a given year, and at least 50 people will be losing their jobs within a 6-month period because the business is being cut back. In this instance, you have a minimal severance pay requirement. However, what's also available is the common law aspect of severance pay. And the common law aspect of severance pay is not mandatory in the sense that it is not necessarily mandated by any applicable government legislation in most provinces. But there is an argument and a basis that lawyers can raise depending on the jurisdiction, depending on the length of service of the individual, dependent upon their age and other factors like that, to make an argument and to justify obtaining, if they have not already been offered up, severance pay, which is above and beyond the termination pay in lieu of notice, and also above and beyond the severance pay that might be accorded based on a jurisdiction's specific employment statutes that pay this minimum amount of severance pay, such as in Ontario. With that being said, severance pay, being a creature of common law, being a creature of legal precedent, it's something you're not going to find in statutes so much. What you're going to be looking to is case precedent. So in summation, severance pay is distinguishable from termination pay. In certain circumstances, in certain jurisdictions, there is minimum severance pay requirements, but even there are clear standards that have to be met to meet those minimum severance pay allotments. With respect to greater severance pay in those jurisdictions and severance pay entirely in other jurisdictions, it really comes down to case precedent and the specifics of the matter. And when we're talking about specifics, we're talking about the employer, the employer's attitude towards it, the employee's length of time there, the amount of service, the seniority of the employee, a range of different issues. And it's also going to be on the circumstances involved. So there's a lot to it, a lot of complexity, and why it's always preferable and advisable to engage informed legal counsel with respect to those matters, given that severance pay, unlike termination pay, is a very much open-ended and subject to negotiation, and in those other circumstances, litigation, which makes it a very challenging road to go down. It also being a road with both risks and rewards. So I hope that's provided you some insights into the whole concept of severance pay. Thank you.